What's happening, friends? Welcome back to the Bankrupt Hippo YouTube channel. I'm Bryce, and this is another episode of Coffee and Kernels where we talk all about the world of movies, video games, TV shows, and all the glorious things going on within it. We've got another great show for you today, packed full of stuff that went on this week. First, we're going to kick off the episode with my spoiler-free review of Don't Breathe 2. Then we're going to move into some topics, including Atlanta and Season 3. We're also going to talk about the Shang-Chi and my anticipation for the movie since it's coming out in 2 weeks. We're also going to talk about the rumored Grand Theft Auto remaster that might be hitting the scene in the fall. We're also going to talk about Anthony Mackie and his deal with Disney to sign on for Captain America 4. We're also going to examine the story around Sony selling the rights to Hotel Transylvania 4, or rather Hotel Transformania. So buckle in and let's get started. Here's my spoiler-free review of Don't Breathe 2. Don't Breathe 2. So Don't Breathe 2 stars Stephen Lang, who plays as Norman Nordstrom, who is a blind former military man who is also a single father raising his daughter Phoenix, played by Madeline Grace. One day, Phoenix is out with Norman's friend Hernandez when they're followed home by a couple of really creepy guys. A group of guys makes their way back to Norman's house later on that night. Things start to go haywire, and we have our movie. What are my overall thoughts on this movie? Basically, this movie crushes it in terms of adhering to its thriller tropes that it's going for. For basically the entire movie, I was really engaged and just freaking out as to how each of these characters was going to get out of the sticky situations that they faced. And along the way, we get a really good sneak peek into each of these characters, the relationships between each other, and what really makes them tick, and the movie also creatively reveals how smart each of them are. Starting with what I really enjoyed about this movie, it is an excellent thriller and it is action-packed. And like any good thriller, the movie kept me on my toes the entire movie. I never really knew what to expect, but just as when I thought I knew what to expect, the movie threw me a curveball and totally caught me off guard. It was great. And not knowing what to expect also carried over into the action in this movie. Norman and Phoenix, they find themselves in a lot of really hairy situations when it comes to the action scenes without giving away spoilers. And the movie executes this in such a creative fashion that it really keeps you, in a really strange way, having a ton of fun. Moreover, since Norman is blind, the movie has to kind of play that to his fighting style, change up his fighting style, change up the way that he sees situations, and we get to see that executed in the movie. And also we get to see that sort of style carry over to his daughter Phoenix because he's taught her everything she knows. And in that regard, the movie really shows off just how smart each of them are when it comes to these situations. And then plus, it brings the stakes through the roof. Moving over into the relationships and the characters themselves, the movie executes this backstory of these characters well enough and the relationship between them just enough to matter and for us to care a little bit. Granted, the bread and butter of this movie is in its thrills, but by just giving us a little sprinkling into each of those characters' backstory, it provides us a little bit more of a stake in these movies, and it makes us care a little bit more about the outcome, which is always an added bonus. And for this movie, really early on, we can see that Norman is starting to struggle with how to raise his daughter, and the movie really kind of plays into that to start out, and I really enjoyed it because it once again elevates the stakes. And lastly, the movie functions on its own really well. For those of you who don't know, Don't Breathe 2 is the sequel to Don't Breathe. You don't have to have watched Don't Breathe in order to watch this movie or even really enjoy it. Like, if you just went in cold and watched this movie, you would have a really good time with it. And playing more on the creativity side of things, one of the things I talked about in my trailer talk for this movie, which I'll link somewhere in this video, now kind of transferring over into what I didn't like so much about this movie. I thought that the backstory of Norman and his relationship between Phoenix was executed well enough. It didn't really make me care a whole lot. Now, why do I have that as really a pro and a con? Reason being is because if they don't execute that well at all, it kind of detracts from the movie. The fact that they couldn't really quite get us to really care all that much doesn't really help the movie, it doesn't really hurt it, so that's why I decided to put it both as a pro and a con. And also, what I really hated about this movie was essentially the villains. The villains were designed in such a way to be really creepy and douchey. Like, if the movie was totally going for, oh, give me the creepiest person you could think of and put them into this movie and write the creepiest dialogue you can possible, they succeeded. But I think that the villains could have been executed in a better way to make them at least seem a little bit more menacing. Like, I just didn't really buy that they were really threatening at all because of how creepy and weird the dialogue was. Like, it just didn't really land for me at all. Like, it just didn't really land for me. The villains I just wasn't really afraid of or really cared about. And kind of even extending that into dialogue a little bit for the villains, it seemed like the words were meant for one purpose, but the way they executed them made it sound like it was meant for a different purpose. And that juxtaposition I found kind of distracting at times. So ladies and gentlemen, my overall verdict for this movie won't blow you away, but it is a good time at the movies. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. If you're just looking for a solid thrill that's going to keep you entertained the entire time, this movie is perfect for you. It's thrilling, it's action-packed, and it's creative in so many ways that I didn't even think possible. Stephen Lang gives us a great performance, and the movie does a good job of showing off just how smart Norman and Phoenix are, albeit the relationship not being the most entertaining nor their backstories. So I'll say, go see it. Alright my friends, have you seen Don't Breathe 2? If so, what did you think of it? You know where the comment section is. Let me know. Next up, let's talk about Donald Glover's TV show, Atlanta, and the next season. All right, my friends, so if you are a fan of Donald Glover's Atlanta, the TV show, well, I have some great news for you because we are getting a season 3 and also a season 4, and I could not be more pumped and excited because I love this show, Atlanta. So, per IGN, season 3 of Atlanta has wrapped filming, with season 4 being in production. So when I take a look at the article, it sounds like season 4, the scripts are written for it, but nothing's been shot. So that's what they mean by being in production, quote unquote. I know it's kind of an ambiguous term when it comes to the world of film and TV. So it's on the way, and I could not be more excited for it. The last time that we got a season of Atlanta was season 2, and it was in 2018. So it's been quite some time. Donald Glover being one of the world's best talents, because I think the guy is super talented. I love his music. I love his acting. I love the movies that he's in, especially when he was in Solo. I thought he was pretty great in that. The dude can do it all, and with how busy of a schedule he's had over the last few years, plus pandemic, I'm not surprised that it's kind of taken this long, but patience is a virtue, and oh my god, I'm so pumped. I'm so excited. If I remember correctly, season 2 ended in Alfred, who I'm trying to remember who plays Alfred. He was in Godzilla vs. Kong. Brian Tyree Henry. Yes, he plays Alfred. Alfred is going to go on tour, I believe, in Europe, and he's taking Ern and Darius with him to go on tour because Ern is his manager. Ern is obviously played by Donald Glover. Darius is played by Lakeith Stanfield. And the show kind of leaves us on a cliffhanger as to what's going to happen next. So I'm super intrigued to see it. And what really makes it interesting is the fact that in the time of this show, we've kind of gone on this ride of seeing from Alfred go from a local rapper to slowly start to gain a ton of notoriety, and what kind of shenanigans the three of them get into together along the way. Zazie Beetz, she's pretty great in the show too, and it's just fascinating to see everything that they get into. And another thing I want to call out too is Darius as a character, super fascinating. They've had whole episodes just centered around him, and Lakeith Stanfield as Darius, I think the show kind of helped him gain a ton of notoriety because he absolutely shines in this show is kind of like Alfred's best friend and the guy between him and Ern. And it just, Lakeith Stanfield always continues to impress me, and I would argue that he's probably one of the best actors in the business today. He's just so good at what he does. He's been in a ton of great performances. Judas and the Black Messiah, who was in earlier this year, which has been my movie of the year so far, and it debuted all the way back in March when it was still cold out, if you're in the Midwest, of course. But the guy just continues to impress, and seeing him, Donald Glover, and Brian Tyree Henry all together for 2 more seasons of this show, it gets my blood pumping. It gets me super excited overall. Now, in terms of dates of when season 3 and season 4 are going to be released, obviously season 4 is much further out because of the fact that they've only got scripts written for it, and I don't believe anything has started filming. But taking a look at the article, this is what the FX FX executive had to say about it. His name is John Landgraf, and according to this IGN article, he said, due to a number of reasons, including the schedules of Hiroi Murai and Donald Glover, a premiere date for the show's 3rd season cannot yet be confirmed. Despite this, the FX boss did say that the show is one of the things that will be coming back in the first half of 2022, before going on to add, I think we'll be able to lock down an actual date, certainly for season 3, maybe for both cycles relatively soon. I could guess within a couple of months. So basically within the next couple of months, we could be hearing of a date of when season 3 of Atlanta will be premiering. It sounds like the first half of 2022 is going to be the target date, which I guess I have to kind of slow down my enthusiasm a little bit, because since it's kind of We're only halfway through August of this recording. We still got a while to go before 2022 is here, so got to be patient for it. But I would say I hope that the season is worth the wait, and I have no doubt it will be, because Donald Glover and him, I believe, producing and creating the show has just been masterclass. And it's just, the show's just got a certain DNA that's like fun and serious at the same time. It just strikes this perfect balance, and it begs really interesting thoughts and tackles some really mature subjects along the way, but it does it in just such a way that really latches onto you and actually makes you have fun in a really strange way. I don't know how to describe it, but I thought the world of season 1 and 2, and now because of this news, I think I'm going to have to go back and watch some of these just to kind of refresh my memory and catch up, because it's so hard to sort of remember things from years ago. That I did the same thing with Animated Style. I kind of had to go back and rewatch some of the stuff, because a recap can only give you so much at the beginning of a season. But my friends, now I ask you, are you as pumped as I am for Atlanta season 3 and 4? When do you think it's going to debut? Whatever you think, you know where the comment section is. Let me know. Coming up next, Shang-Chi and my anticipation. Shang-Chi. So Shang-Chi coming out on September 3rd, which is just a couple of short weeks away. I just want to talk about my anticipation for the movie and what I also thought of the trailers leading up to the film's debut. Plus, a lot of pundits that I've seen on YouTube have gone to see the premiere, and I've already seen the movie, and they've spoken pretty highly about it, which has definitely increased my anticipation. Overall, I'll say this. My anticipation for this, somewhere between I'm excited to see it and I am really excited to see it. The reason being, where the excitement comes in, is, like I said, pundits who have seen the movie have already spoken very, very highly of it. Also, the fact that it's another Marvel title that's coming out. Marvel titles, for me, there's not a single one that I haven't really enjoyed, whether it be a TV show or a movie over the last, since Iron Man debuted in 2006, 7, or 8, can't really remember what year it was. I don't know Shang-Chi, I don't know about his origin story. However, from what I've been hearing about this movie, it sounds like a Shang-Chi origin story, which to me increases my anticipation a little bit more, because I love a good origin story. The original Thor movie, Iron Man movie, I enjoyed those. I deeply enjoyed Captain America, the First Avenger, and if there's one thing I've learned that Marvel's good at, it's that they're good at making origin stories, so I have no doubt that they'll kind of stick with that and do the same for Shang-Chi, if not exceed those expectations. Plus, me going a little bit blind into this movie, not knowing a ton about it, I think keeps my expectations at a reasonable level. The one thing I hate doing is going into movies and having my anticipation level be too high, because then the movie's got to be really damn good for me to enjoy it. But by me being at somewhere between a 6 and a 7, I don't think it's going to be tough for this movie to surprise me or also fulfill my expectations. Plus, I'm excited to see a non-mainstream character kind of come into the fold in terms of this cinematic universe. With Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, it kind of seems like those are mainstream characters that I've kind of known about my entire life. Shang-Chi I didn't know about till like 6 months ago. The trailers, for me in particular, they didn't really do much to amp up my excitement at all. The trailer intrigued me, I'll just say that. It was not the vibe of a typical Marvel action sort of title. You know, you've got a little bit of dialogue with characters with funny moments sprinkled into the trailer, a little bit of interaction of their origin and what they're about, a little bit of mystery in there, because he mentions he was raised to be an assassin, but that's not who he is. That kind of begs a little bit of intrigue. And also, who doesn't love some good fighting scenes? With that in mind, the trailer, it didn't dissuade me from watching the movie, but it didn't get me super amped for the movie, so it's somewhere in between. So my friends, are you excited to go see Shang-Chi? Where is your anticipation level at? Whatever you think, you know where the comment section is. Let me know. Coming up, we got a video game topic. Grand Theft Auto Remastered, question mark. All right, my fellow gaming fans, so reports have been coming out over the course of the last 10 days stating this. Apparently, Take-Two Interactive has been reworking remasters, which would include some Grand Theft Auto original titles that came from PlayStation 2. That's right, Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. So, me, when I was younger, I played 2 out of the 3 of these games. I played Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and I played Grand Theft Auto 3, and I remember absolutely loving both of them. But this report comes from Kotaku, and they said the following, that some of their sources who have been reliable in the past have come out and given out some details for this particular story, and that they've also been confirmed that the studio Rockstar Dundee, which is a Scottish branch of Take-Two Interactive is going to be working on these remasters, and that also they're going to release sometime in late October, early November, so these are going to be fall releases. Let me just give my thoughts on this, and then I'll go into a little bit more details that I found in the article. Overall, it's really strange. Like, Grand Theft Auto, I think, was one of the original games that was extremely popular amongst a lot of people. I mean, I remember being younger and everybody loved playing these Grand Theft Auto games, myself included. Like I said, never had a chance to play Vice City, but San Andreas and Grand Theft Auto 3, I remember really enjoying. I remember looking up all these ridiculous cheat codes, using them in the game to get a tank, and that was a ton of fun because it was just hours of mindless fun, entertaining mayhem, and it was just one of those games you never really got tired of. And then with the advent of Grand Theft Auto 5 and how it's been one of the most ridiculously popular games over the last decade since they've released it, you can't help but really be excited when news like this comes out. However, having said that, if they did come out with these remasters and it's a certainty, I would be very tempted to buy them. And apparently it's in the article that Kotaku put out, which I'll link down in the description. They also said that it's going to be a collection of the 3 games, also all sold exclusively digitally, which kind of makes a ton of sense. It's a lot easier to distribute. But I'm cautiously optimistic about this story to a point because of something I read in the article. If I take a look at the article once more, I'm a little confused because of the fact that it seems to definitively state that Rockstar Dundee is going to be working on these games, but at the same time, it references sources that aren't quite confirmed, but have been a little bit more on the reliable side in the past. So if I look at this article again, it says this: Kotaku has reached out to Rockstar about these remastered games and future GTA re-releases. But our sources have, so far, had reliable track records that have alerted us to updates in GTA Online and Red Dead Online weeks, if not months in advance. So it doesn't really sound like Kotaku's particularly sure that these rumors are in fact true. However, reading on, sources confirmed that Rockstar Dundee, a Scottish outpost and one of the newest studios of the company, is leading the charge on developing the remastered games. Another source explained that the studio is heavily involved in not just the remasters, but is even helping Rockstar in developing the next GTA 5 ports that are due out later this year. So that first sentence in the second paragraph, which is saying sources confirm that Rockstar Dundee is leading the charge on developing the remastered games, they sound definitively sure that the remasters are actually happening. However, in the first paragraph, it's implying that they're getting information from sources, but Rockstar hasn't confirmed it yet. So I have a really hard time believing which is true, whether or not it's confirmed or if it's still rumors. From what I've seen on IGN, it sounds like it's still currently a rumor, but albeit a really strong one that's going to happen. I'm going to err on the side of these remasters are probably going to get made, and I'm going to take everything that Kotaku is writing this article as truth, but I just want to throw in that little tidbit there just as a piece of cautious optimism, because I don't want to get too excited only to be let down later on when it comes to the fall. But yeah, like I said, I think out of the 3 games, obviously I can't speak to Vice City, but San Andreas was the one I most vividly remember and also my favorite one. I'm also really excited to have that really popular meme resurface of CJ saying that line, what was it again?
Oh shit, here we go again.
It's just so iconic, and it's just the game in and of itself. I don't know why it just resonates with so many people. It's really interesting. I don't know if it was just the time it was in, either that or just Grand Theft Auto had tapped into a type of game that wasn't really popularized up until after its time. It was a pioneer of sorts, so maybe that's why it resonates so well in other people's minds, myself included. But my friends, I ask you, do you think the rumors are true? If they are true, are you going to buy these games day one? Which of these would you be most excited to play? Whatever you think, you know where the comment section is. Let me know. Hotel Transylvania 4's new deal. All right, friends, so something really interesting caught my eye today. It was announced, I believe, on Variety. They revealed that Sony Pictures has entered into a deal with Amazon Prime Video for Hotel Transylvania 4, or rather Hotel Transylvania : Transformania. The 2 T's back to back is a mouthful. But anyways, the deal was for $100 million, and this is going to eliminate the theatrical release, if I'm not mistaken. So Hotel Transylvania 4 is going to be coming exclusively to Amazon Prime Video rather than going into theaters. This was a very interesting move by Sony, and I think it's kind of start of revealing Sony's strategy when it comes to the whole grand scheme of the streaming world. If you guys don't recall, a few months back, Sony actually announced a deal with Netflix Netflix that would get a lot of their titles, including some of Tom Holland's Spider-Man titles, onto Netflix exclusively after their theatrical release. And that deal was for about $1 billion, or just over $1 billion over the course of 5 years. And now they're doing this again, but with a different title in Hotel Transylvania. And to me, this actually isn't a bad move overall, given the pandemic and the fact that there's still a lot of concerns, and we've seen a lot of movies not have a ton of success monetarily in theaters. For Sony to go ahead and sell the rights to this movie for $100 million for streaming, it kind of makes sense to me, because when you look at, now I couldn't find the numbers of the budget for this movie. However, every Hotel Transylvania movie that has come out in this franchise has had a budget of about 80 to 85 million. So I can't help but suspect that it'll be the case again for this fourth one. But by them doing this deal with Amazon, they almost guarantee themselves either to break even or get close to it, or at least make a little bit of profit on this movie, which otherwise might not break even in an exclusive theatrical release. I mean, we've seen a lot of other bigger titles not do quite as well at the box office. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, we just talked about that on the last episode, how it really hasn't lived up to its own expectations, or at least what many's expectations might have been for it to gross in the box office. Black Widow, it made a decent amount of money, but probably not as much money as Disney was hoping. And I think this is a good move for Sony to go ahead and just bite the bullet, maybe play the safer option and just give it right to streaming. And it's really interesting, because Sony, it's like, one of the discussions that had been going on, and like I said in the last episode, I listened to the John Campea show, and they posed this very interesting thought back with the Netflix and Sony deal. And it's that rather than Sony trying to make their own streaming service, they're actually just selling off a lot of their content to the currently existing streaming services, which I happen to think is pretty smart, because then you don't have to go through this overhaul of trying to differentiate yourself in a whole army of streaming services. You can just kind of, Sony themselves can be more of a content creator rather than a content deliverer or delivery medium, I guess you could say. So to me, that's really, really interesting, and it allows Sony to kind of just solely focus on its content and its content creation rather than trying to get it out to as many people as possible. And that might be a very lucrative way to do so, and it might be the way of the future, because like I said, between Paramount, between NBC, between Disney, between Netflix, between all these other streaming services, it's like it's becoming harder and harder to really compete and differentiate. Plus, you've got major corporations like Amazon and Apple themselves who have gobs and gobs of money, and Sony, while they're a giant corporation, they're not going to overtake the likes of Amazon and Apple. So really interesting strategy for them overall. Plus, I'm an Amazon Prime Video member, so I get to watch this movie the second they release on Amazon Prime Video, which is exciting. But I am very intrigued by this move. I'm almost in a way excited for Sony, and it's starting to show a path on their way to the future, because who knows, if they've struck these two deals with streaming services, Netflix, Amazon respectively, I wonder what they'll do next for their other content they create. And I wonder if the quality of their content is just going to ever increase as time goes on, while others might diminish. Those are my thoughts on the whole deal between Amazon and Sony for Hotel Transylvania 4. What do you guys make of it? You know where the comment section is. Let me know. Now, to conclude this episode, Anthony Mackie's new deal with Disney. Anthony Mackie's closed a deal to star in Captain America 4. That's right, this was confirmed just this morning by Deadline, saying that Mackie closed the deal with Marvel in order to put ink to paper. But according to the article as well, Kevin Feige's keeping the details under wraps, including whether or not Sebastian Stan is going to take part in the project. To me, with the end of Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or should I say Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it would seem likely that the two of them would both appear in Captain America 4. It only would make particular sense. But some other details that the article revealed is the fact that Malcolm Spellman is going to be writing up Captain America 4, also with another staff writer whose name is escaping me at this point. However, some initial thoughts I have. One, I'm really excited Anthony Mackie is going to be coming to this. Obviously, it seemed to be the logical trajectory, like I said, given Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It seems like Marvel's putting an investment into both him and the Winter Soldier as characters. Now, the one thing that is really interesting to me about Captain America 4 is the fact that it's going to have new writers, and they're not even really sure who the directors of the project are going to be, which makes sense because that's probably a long way out from shooting, given that no release date's been announced. However, the two staff writers that wrote the first Captain America Winter Soldier, and then also Captain America Civil War. Neither one of them are being named writers to Captain America 4, so I'm anticipating that Captain America 4 is going to have a very different feel to it overall. It'll probably be something much more akin to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, given that Malcolm Spellman is involved in both projects in a pretty heavy role as well. I'm very curious to see who the directors will be. At this point, I doubt it would be the Russo brothers. And although I'm typically an advocate for changing up things after you've been in a role for so long, like in the case of the Russo brothers and also the staff writers, who I have to look up their name because it's driving me nuts. Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely were both the writers for the original 3 Captain America movies. I'm in a way glad that the MCU is starting to give in some new people into some of these projects, because after you stay in one role for so long, your creative oats might kind of get worn out, I guess you could say. It's like one of those things where if you stay in one area for too long, you might get less creative, or it just might not feel the same after a while. You get complacent would be one of my arguments, but then again, I'm not a director to that end. So I think the look and feel of Captain America 4 is going to be very, very different. I'm excited to see who's going to be in it. I'm going to be really pumped to see whether or not Sharon Carter, John Walker, I'm excited to see whether those two are going to be involved in the movie or not, given, like I said, the ending to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think it's more likely that Sharon would probably be involved in it, and I'd actually be really fascinated if she ended up being the villain of the film. Where John Walker really fits into all of this, I'm not really sure. I'll leave that up to Malcolm Spellman to kind of spell that out, no pun intended. I would anticipate that Sebastian Stan is going to be involved in the project as well, given how involved he was in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So that's my 2 cents on the matter. Overall, as for any Marvel title or project, I'm really excited for whenever this movie does come out. I'm not anticipating it till at least 2023, if not 2024 and beyond. I could be wrong. Kevin Feige could come out and reveal some new details tomorrow, and we could all be in a much different mindset. But my friends, what do you make of Anthony Mackie getting signed to the project? Are you apprehensive about having different writers? Who do you think their directors might be? Do you think Sebastian Stan will be involved? Do you think Sharon Carter will reappear as a character? Whatever you think, you know where the comment section is. Let me know. All right, my friends, that'll do it for another episode of Coffee and Kernels. Thank you so much for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss a video and want to stay in tune with all the fun that we've been having. Once again, I've been Bryce. This has been Bankrupt Hippo YouTube channel, and until next time, have a great day.